Time for Ask the Mayor on KWBE. We welcome in Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan today. And first question is, when is spring actually going to arrive?
Well, Doug, I wish I had the answer. I think March has been either cold, rainy, snowy, or windy. So, maybe it's going to go out like a lamb.
Getting a lot of opposites here. One day 65, the next day snow and 35 or whatever. So
I know.
So just have to put up with it. But I was going to ask you, into that big time of the year when a lot of work time gets kind of wasted a little bit with the brackets and everything. Do you follow it very much or not?
You know what? I really don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch college basketball. It typically is in March. I don't really follow basketball like I do some football.
I see.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Just not your sport, really, for the most part.
Just hasn't really been my sport, I guess.
Haven't had a pick of who you think is going to win it all or anything like that.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Seems like there's about 10 teams that could this year, but we'll see.
I was going to say
how that comes out.
After the next couple of days of playing, there may be a couple that are the favorites.
Yeah, some will drop out early, as always is the case. That's for sure. Kind of a bad thing to talk about today. We did get a call on it that there was some vandalism, I think, at Chautauqua Park for sure, but I understand now maybe Riverside Park as well. And I did talk with the police sergeant earlier that they think they may have some progress on finding who is responsible for that. Unfortunately, these things happen once in a while, and they're usually middle of the night things, so they're kind of tough to police. But I don't know how extensive the damage was, but
I'm not sure either. I think our parks folks do a good job of taking care of it. I think the sad part of it is vandalism does happen to city properties, and it happens to other people's properties, and a lot of times it's probably mischief.
Yep.
And when you think about it, it just costs money, and so even if we take care of all the vandalism, through our employees, there still is employee time that goes away from another project that they could be working on. So, it's hard and it's real, and at night, let's face it, the police have their hands full with other things too. I mean, they do go through the parks and they try to keep a really good eye on everything, but you can't be everywhere at every time.
Yeah. And I think there is a closing hour of parks, too. You're not supposed to...
There is.
mean, other than for people who are camped there and that type of thing.
Correct.
So,
there is.
yeah,
Yep. And they do a good job of patrolling. It's just that, it's dark. It could be 2 a.m, and they could be already on another call.
Yeah. I think it's that time of year, too, when the restrooms and things start reopening, too, for the warmer season. So
Yes.
And, it's just kind of too bad that if somebody's camping there, they have to look at the graffiti and everything. And
It is. And we'll continue to keep an eye on that.
Okay. Yesterday, Board of Public Works meeting dealt with a few issues there. One of them is work that is going on right now with a water transmission line project, but also work that's coming up pretty soon that'll be fairly visible to people, I think, in the downtown area to replace some mains there.
Yes. That's part of that SRA loan that we got at 0%. Right now we're putting in that transmission line, or basically the pipes in the ground, to bring redundancy to the water wells. So if we have something go out, we'll have another way to get water into the city of Beatrice. And when you have 12,500 residents, redundancy is is great that we had the foresight to plan that, and we were able to get that 0% loan over, I think, 30 years to help improve a number of projects. And I think that's, I think whether it's, redundancy in your water or electricity or even your internet services, it's worth their weight in gold when you have a problem.
Yeah. The downtown main work, it's pretty early yet, but any idea where that is to start and kind of where it would finish up? Is it going like west to east, or what's the situation there?
I really don't know,
okay.
But I do know that people will start noticing as we start tearing up, where those lines are. Those lines are relatively old.
I was going to say, 70, 80, 90 years or something like that in some cases?
Again, it's a project that we're going to do because we know it needs to be done. And I think the foresight from almost all the departments, especially with water, is let's take care of these problems and eliminate a lot of main breaks, because main breaks, they happen. You got to fix them. It's a mess. It puts people out of water for a period of time. And so we're being proactive, and I think that's right the place we need to be.
Yeah, you kind of wonder when the next really old major main is on its way out, because we all remember the Fourth and Grant project, where it just created a geyser there and
It did.
basically moved pavement. That was quite a project there to get that fixed, if I remember right. So,
And you know, it's kind of amazing that you know, across the city we have these underground water reservoirs, and it does. I mean, you know, when you think about the water, you turn the tap on and it works.
yeah.
But if you think about all the things that have to be in place before it gets to your home, it's just absolutely amazing what the water department has to, you know, keep track of. You know, and I think about the, you know, what at the recognition dinner, Steve Kelly got his 50 years, so he's worked for the city for 50 years, and he's got 50 years worth of knowledge in his head.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we need to consider how we tap all of that information, because he's done a wonderful job over 50 years.
Yeah. Between the service lines, transmission lines, 2 water towers, couple underground water tanks, now a new transmission line. That's a lot to maintain over years.
It is. Absolutely.
Okay. Another topic from the BPW meeting yesterday was, some years back you went to an automated metering infrastructure system, which is helping with not only billing and things like that, but also response to outages and things like that. You contract with a third party, basically in the city, to what sort of host the software for that system?
Right. The AMI system, I think, was put in over a 3-year period. I think we're fully got it implemented across the city. For a period of time, we hosted in-house. This is for a service arrangement with Landis and Gear Technologies Incorporated, and they provide the hosting, you know, on their site. And the hosting is more than just having it sitting on your computer or your servers. That hosting continues to check all across for, you know, cyber attacks or for anything that may go wrong. And so we know that the experts from that particular AMI system is with Landis and Gear. And so in the long run, that's going to really pay benefits to the city, because it won't be on our hosted server. It'll be on their server, and we'll know what's going on in an instant. And the AMI system has really been, I think, a godsend for our folks. We had and this might be kind of a sidebar, but on Tuesday we had disaster preparedness training from Chief Dakey for all the department heads and myself. First time I've gone through that, at least from the city side. Went through it on the college side, but on the city side. And so it's kind of interesting to know that, you know, every year we talk about disaster preparedness and we plan for that. And so here's all your department heads. But through that, it was real interesting, because as technology has changed, you talk about, you know, developing like an instant command center and who's going to be there. And so like the electrical department with the AMI system, if there is a major storm or some catastrophic loss, through this AMI system, they can be down at the service center getting their trucks and rolling, because they know exactly where the outages are. As soon as a meter goes dead that shouldn't, there's a warning that goes out to, you know, Pat Feist and all the electrical folks to start working on it, whoever's on call. So now if you have, you know, God forbid a tornado hit the northeast part of Lincoln, or Beatrice. I was thinking Lincoln Street. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But, you know, all of a sudden you know where you need to send your resources. And so for Beatrice, it's really a gold mine.
Yeah, and in the old days, you had to really rely on reports from residents about, hey, my street light's out, or I can see my lights across the street. They're on at my neighbor's house, but not on this side of the street. So there was a certain amount of time where you went out and kind of scouted what was happening.
Exactly. And, you know, we still get those calls, which is great. But it's amazing, again, what technology has done. We pretty much know that they're out and they're on their way.
Yeah. Some other things to wrap up yesterday's Board of Public Works meeting. You get a Nebraska Municipal Power Pool rate survey results every once in a while that kind of compares you with other communities that are members of the same entity. Can't always really compare side by side because there's a lot of differences between communities, but just sort of an overview of that in terms of how you stand with wholesale retail rates for electricity.
Sure. You know, we really stand very favorable, the report shows. We've had some really good success over the last 7 years. There was, I don't know, it was my first term on the council or toward my beginning of my second, but that's when we made the vote to leave NPPD and go to the Southwest Power Pole. It has been a very good thing for the city, and it's been a very, very good thing for the constituencies. I think over the last 7 years, we've had the ability not to raise rates. When we had the vortex, we were able to basically cover the cost of that, which was over $1 million, and not pass that on to our residents. So I think that's good. But I think the other thing that you always think about as far as rates and things, we've held steady since 2007 or 2015, but we have done that without any shortcomings in our infrastructure, our cash reserves, our equipment, and our technology. So the savings comes from being able to manage and buy and sell our electricity, and it does not compromise anything that the electric company does because they're in a very good, strong financial position.
Okay. One last item before a break here. I understand you're going to be receiving bids on a rather major sewer project today. Is it big enough, large enough project where you expect a lot of interest in that, or?
I would hope so. If you have a lot of interest in the bidding process, you have the better chance of getting a lower bid with a quality company. The bids will be for a sewer bypass project around the industrial park. It is a pretty major project. I think, we're waiting. I think what James Burrows says is we're waiting for those bids to come in because that will tell us how much money is left for other projects or do we need to delay any projects based on what that is. But that sewer bypass needs to be done. And like I said, we put it out on bids, and so we're hoping that we'll see some favorable results today.
All right. Back with more on Ask the Mayor with Mayor Bob Morgan in just a moment. Today with Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan, one of the issues coming up on this Monday night's council meeting would be the second ordinance reading on the proposal that would allow UTVs, ATVs on city streets in accordance with state law and some local regulations you would have. Since the vote on the first round, any more input? Any thoughts from the public that you've received regarding that?
I've received a number of emails. I really have. I mean, I think I've received somewhere through the whole process about 50 residents that have made some comments that have a definite opinion, which is certainly one of the things that I would take into account when or if I vote. I mean, that's the one thing that again, I always...
You'll only break the tie if it happens.
I only take I only break the tie, and that's why I always encourage people to contact their ward representative or both of them on their whatever their view is, because I think that's where really the importance part of getting that vote is, of what their opinion is. I think we did something that I think at first looked maybe a little bit abnormal, but I don't think it was. And with an ordinance, it can be, the rules can be suspended, and you can read the ordinance 3 times, and then you can pass it. And we do that a lot. And that was one of the comments. It was. I think one gentleman said it was nice to see us slow down on this particular topic to get more input from the community, which we did. But I think that the one thing to understand about those ordinances, it really depends on what the ordinance is. I think this one, the right decision was made to slow it down. I think the more you look at it and the more you maybe can massage what the ordinance is, it's always better for the community, and I think it allows input, which we should listen to the input of the public and what they want, because they're the ones that put us into office. But I think sometimes when you think about, on Monday night, there's a couple other ordinances that are on there, and they deal with purchasing property from the city or buying property for the city. And those ordinances typically are, they're pretty standard operations.
Not very controversial at all.
Yeah, they're not controversial. They're pretty standard operations. There's really not much input. It's between the city and the person you're either buying or selling the land from. So in those cases, it really is a way to suspend the rules, get the ordinance passed, and then for the next city council meeting, move on to other city business. And so there is a difference. I think in this case, it was the right thing to slow it down. We'll see how things go on Monday night, and then we'll have the final and third vote if it passes Monday night on April 3rd or something
Somewhere
around there.
yeah. On second round consideration Monday night, what are the prospects for any other amendments, changes, or are you foreseeing that there may be adjustments here or there beyond what's already?
There could be. I think based out of some of the conversations from last Monday night, I think there's some things that some councilmen are looking at. Again, I haven't had anybody come to me of what amendments they're thinking, so we'll just see what Monday night looks like. And again, we slowed it down. That's part of the process, and I think with that input, it's always going to try to make things better.
Okay. Police department is, I understand, will be undergoing some exterior renovation. It used to be a financial building, like either a bank or savings and loan, if I remember right, when police took it over. And I can't even remember how many years the department has been there, but also state probation is above that.
Yes.
And the department has adequate room as far as we know there, but just like any other building, I suppose it needs a little attention.
Yeah, the exterior needs a little bit of attention, a little bit of brickwork. It's I think structurally it's a great building, and when you think about what's inside it, I think look how the 911 services have changed over the years. So it plays a pretty vital role.
Yeah, is that a month-long project, couple weeks? Or
I would guess it's about a month-long project. Yeah, okay. I don't really know.
Okay, all right. Completing the trail gap in East Beatrice between 24th and 26th. It's interesting. Recently, you had some discussion on that because you have a CDBG grant fund that you have to dispose of in some way, shape, or form. And it's pretty unanimous among the council. That's what they wanted this to go for. So
our trail systems are wonderful here.
Yeah.
That little area, 24th to 26th, is an area that really needed to be done. And it was. There was no. We had a list of probably 5 or 6 projects, and it was like, no, that's pretty much consensus. That's what we want to get done. That's what we think will enhance the community the best.
Would that be on the south side of the highway or north side? I keep forgetting about that.
I believe the north side.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Again.
All right. Because I know there's that little trail that comes down from the high school.
Right.
And it kind of just stops there at some point. And so I'm assuming you would jump over to the other side and then would be the connection.
I think so.
Right. Okay. All right. I'll have to drive by there. I
know. I have to too. Now one of my tasks this morning.
In that same area, the council recently authorized the city to submit a request for new access off of U.S. Highway 136 near East Scott Street. Understand there's commercial plans?
There's some commercial interest in that area from the person who owns that property. It's kind of interesting, access is pretty well protected by the Department of Roads or Department of Transportation now. I think what they want to know is the city, in favor of adding that access point, and of course we are. I mean, we're very, very excited about any time a new commercial venture wants to come to Beatrice and help us grow.
Okay. How long will that take to learn whether or not that'll even be granted, the access?
Well, it depends on the state, so it's whatever their time frame
kind of
is.
on their timetable.
Yeah, we're on their timetable on that one.
Okay.
Yep.
This week, the Beatrice School Board had approved granting right-of-way and easements to the city regarding streets, facilities, utilities associated with the new school site. I did not go to the Southeast Nebraska Education Agency meeting, but I assume that was approved there too. Is that just pretty routine on the arrangement there, or what all does that involve?
It really is pretty routine. We know there's infrastructure that needs to go in. We also know that we have to continue to take a look at the roads. And, I think last week, there was a good meeting between the city and Beatrice Public Schools as we continue to talk about it. And, it's really hard when I thought about this. I figured it'd be on the agenda. When you think about starting to build a building, you get excited. You talk to the architects, and they really come up with this cool building. It's kind of sexy to see this building coming out of the ground from the architectural perspective. And the things that just don't really get thought about are infrastructure and roads and some of those things that are just kind of mundane, but they're important. So this easement really puts the school and us in a better position for, future roads improvements or infrastructure or those type of things. So it helps us continue to move that project along for Beatrice Public Schools.
You always see the building, you don't see the underground electric and water lines and all that. That's
right.
the stuff that's really needed there, and you can't do without it. So
That's exactly right.
coming up, well, I'll tell you what, let's take a break and we'll finish up our program next. We've got one more break here, and we'll finish up Ask the Mayor in just a moment. We're back on Ask the Mayor today to finish up with Mayor Bob Morgan. Coming up at the end of March here on the 27th, you're going to have a meeting, not at the usual place you do on the school administration building, but this one will be at the city auditorium. It has to do with you're having a study done of downtown revitalization, the potential for the movement of truck traffic farther south, what you might do with Court Street, things like that. It's a good chance for people to come out and take a look at what's being studied, maybe make some suggestions.
Right. This is the kickoff public forum. It's not any different than what we saw on Lincoln Street, and we encourage the public to come between 4 and 6. It's kind of an open house, come and go for the revitalization downtown or downtown corridor project. It is at the city auditorium. And, when you think about it, through the campaign trail, I think one of the things that I heard, at least at the chamber meet the candidates forums, was that there really was a resounding interest in revitalizing our downtown. And we know that, that's been a conversation several times over the years. But I think, one of the important parts about this is when you take a step to maybe move the highway, what does that downtown become? Because, once you kind of get a plan of what the downtown could be and people see that, it's going to generate hopefully more business and interest in business and coming to Beatrice. So I think it gives us an idea of what our downtown could be. One of the things I think I've always said is, the more you understand what you want to be, the easier it is to market you. And so I think, Main Street's done a good job of really trying to generate some interest in downtown. And so it's an opportunity to say, okay, if indeed the highway moved, what do you want to see downtown? The road is still a road, so it'll be there, but how do we make it look and feel like a place that people want to just come and spend time?
Yeah.
Because that's really the goal, is to get people downtown, not only from Beatrice, but really around the region, and make it a destination.
Yeah.
And so with the destination, a lot of things increase, not only in downtown. You still have people that now they want to eat. And so if you have restaurants down there, that's a good thing. If, people want to eat on the way out of town, you have restaurants that will benefit there. You've got fuel. You've got a number of things that will benefit, by drawing and becoming a destination in southeast Nebraska.
So there was some discussion earlier about, making it kind of a walking district or an arts district too, or things like that. You expect those will be maybe components you're looking at there? Or?
Well, I hope so. I hope there's a lot of ideas that are brought up. I really do. I think, there's interest in trying to make sure that we have a revitalized downtown that is there and strong. And, it's just like the main work we're doing underground with the water, it's served us very well, but it's also time to figure out how do we refresh this again to bring people and excitement to downtown Beatrice.
When the project was done on 5th Street between Court and Ella, where they kind of narrowed things down and made it was called traffic calming at that time, I think is what it was called, because you wanted to make sure nobody's kind of racing through there and, putting people at risk who are walking or enjoying just a day downtown. Something similar to that, is that possible for Court Street? Like, you're not taking traffic out of there, but obviously you want to make it friendly enough that people don't feel at risk when they're walking in an area. So.
I think it is slowing it down. I think, though, that we have to be really practical. I think we know we need parking. People aren't going to want to walk 3 blocks before they get to, an entertainment district or whatever it might be. And I think we also have to just be realistic that, we live in a rural community, so, I think the calming and narrowness of that Fifth Street road down Court Street might be a little bit too narrow. When you take a look at the number of trucks that you have now that are pickups, that a lot of people, instead of having a car, they've got a four-door truck. So
Got to kind of work your way around those.
yeah,
every
so
once in a
sometimes you got to
while.
work your way around those, and I think what we're looking for there is really something that will just enhance a flow. And I think that's, hopefully will come out. Again, I'm not a designer, but I do know that's one of the things we have to be careful of, is that we keep, the street that works. It can be calming, but it needs to work.
Yeah. After the March 27th open house meeting, like when you did the Lincoln corridor, when you held a couple of them, I think.
Yes.
Is that kind of the same plan, or what?
It is. What they'll do, and really, what is it's an input. It's really a chance for people to come out and say that I'd like to see the downtown look like this, or I would like to see this at the downtown. So the community gets an opportunity to have some input. And then what they'll do is go back to the drawing board, and they'll probably come up with 2 or 3 ideas, or maybe 4. I'm not sure. That's up to them. And then we'll come back, I don't know, probably toward June, July-ish, and say, okay, here's another public meeting. Here's suggestions. What did you really like? What didn't you like? And then, probably just like Lincoln Street, after they go back and do the desired plan by the most people, they'll probably do a presentation to City Council on what they found most beneficial for the study.
All right. Mayor, thanks for being with us again. We'll be seeing you Monday night, council
All right.
meeting.
Thank you.